It's movie time, and we're back again with movie time. Hey, everybody! It's like hope that you had a great couple of days. I'm your host, Grayson, and with me is my co-hosts Olaf and Arpo. Hey, Olaf, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It's just been another well, great day in the great state of Indiana. It wasn't too hot, too nasty. It was a rather nice day.
Greatness. And Arpo, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine. It was a beautiful day here too. I need to readjust this just slightly. There we go. Now I look a little bit better. A little more my handsome self. Is that you, Grayson? You have to excuse me. I've been reading really tiny print all day today.
I know you have a horrible boss who sends you all these tiny printed ads.
Oh my God. Well, no, actually, not the boss's fault. I found the site, and unfortunately, the site has very small print.
See, because your boss is considerate to give you bigger print.
Yes, yes.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. If she'd pay me, she'd be perfect.
Paid, schmade.
I know. It's the honor and the glory of working. That's the
Exactly.
reward.
Pay,
Of,
Payment is just a state of mind.
Exactly.
it's
You get
more of a fringe benefit than the rights of the employee.
No, it's more of a figment of your imagination, but that's
yeah,
okay.
you get to be a part of a whole entire process.
Yeah, that's
How
right.
how many people can swear that they are part of an entire process?
Um, I can.
There you go.
Yes. Except in your case, you got screwed twice over now.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Mm,
found your own best process.
That's right.
So tonight we have like three exciting segments to our show. And let's start off with our first one, which is talking about NBC. NBC is doing yet another wonderful, innovative thing for us. They say NBC is to hire more women directors with female forward initiative. Well, for all those who don't understand what female forward initiative is they're going to be taking about 10 female directors, having them shadow on shows, and then giving them an episode to direct of a TV series on NBC, which could be anything from the people who it's like Law and Order, SVU, the Menendez murders, to any of the shows that are on NBC. The vast amount of them. So actually, this is a really great thing that they're doing because they're expanding the initiative that New York has done, as well as also others. And their goal is to get more female directors out there. Thoughts and feelings?
do you suppose the fact that the NBC president is Jennifer Salk could have anything to do with it? Just asking.
She is the one who is doing it. She's the lieutenant and senior VP of programming of talent management, and it's like also the inclusion of Karen Horn. So it's like the
Yeah.
new investment also begins in 2018, 2019, and 10 NBC series are aiming to expand the number of directors on the shows in subsequent years.
Well, can I just say it's about time?
Yes.
Absolutely, it's about time. But I'm just questioning if the president of NBC wasn't a woman, would this be happening so quickly?
It's an
Probably, maybe, possibly not.
Well, it's like this is where I will put out the challenge of this little bit of an article, and the reason why I brought it up is because you're right. It's like it is moving forward because she is the president of NBC, as well as also there is the creators of Law and Order, Menendez story, and also a few other people that are involved in that to move it forward. That being said, I would probably say I would want to challenge the other networks to doing the same in regards
Oh
to
yeah.
it. It's like and dealing with a lot more diversity within their television programming as well. And I also have to say kudos to Jennifer for doing that and being so forward in it. And as to if it was a guy, it depends on how progressive they are towards this new movement that's happening. And I will call it a new movement because it has happened before. And yes, there are many women. It's like there was a fantastic story of the original 9 who started as female directors, producers, writers in the industries and stuff. And it's like there's fantastic stories. And of course, there's like the amazing Sherry Lansing. Please come on our show, Sherry Lansing, and join us anytime. Seriously, we will book you in anytime. And people of that that have been the predecessors to this, but this has been the most outward movement in a long period of time.
Yes. And I have to say that, you know, it's good because I think women have over the years shown that they are every bit as adept as directors, writers, producers as men. Let me hold up an example.
Yes.
In 1963, a woman named Verity Lambert became the first female producer at the BBC.
Yes.
Everybody scoffed. A woman producer? She's never going to last. She's never going to last. You know what show she was in charge of?
Which one?
Doctor Who.
Yep. Nice.
Made it a huge success that is still running today.
Yep.
Way to go, Verity.
Yeah, it's like, and it's amazing because, like, you know, when Sherry Lansing was at the helm, the studio was at its top game in terms of that. It's like it was literally top of their game.
She was at Paramount.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like also with a lot of the original 9, it's like a lot of the BBC. It's like it's funny how Europe has been progressive like this for multiple years. We're just finally catching up.
Wow.
They have never had a distinction of that, as far as I am knowing in history, of that they've ever had a distinction of, oh, you're a female director, therefore you should not have a chance to be able to direct.
Unless it's a soap opera. I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of soap operas are created, written, and directed by women. It was like the networks were saying, that's your little niche. That's soap operas.
Yes.
Isn't that kind of stereotypical?
Yeah,
it is.
It is. It's very stereotypical.
It's like,
in fact, the only case where it wasn't stereotypical was Leela Swift, who directed most of the episodes of Dark Shadows.
Yes.
Which wasn't so much of a soap opera as a horror series.
Right.
And there must have been a lot of controversy that went along with that.
Yeah.
Of how many episodes she could direct, how it's like, could she direct, etc. So yeah, we've come a long way, baby.
Yep.
And let's keep going on this. You know, it's like we don't just iron any longer. The wardrobe.
Right. It's like, right.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's been here recently, there's been a movie or two that was directed by a woman that,
nothing real successful.
No, it's like it did okay. What was that movie? Wonder Woman, I think. Was it?
Yeah, something like that.
I think that was directed by.
Of course, the woman had to direct Wonder Woman. It's got woman in the title. It was a movie about a woman, so it had to be directed by a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how the male chauvinistic mind works. Damn it.
Yeah, there you go. Like it had to be.
Actually, to be fair, the studio took a huge risk putting a woman in charge of a tentpole
Yep.
feature
And it paid off
Wonder
in
Woman.
spade.
Well, and the only reason they did it was because they figured the movie, after the debacle of Batman versus Superman, they figured the movie wasn't going to do anything anyway. So
Right.
Yeah.
why not let a woman direct it? They were wrong.
Yeah, they
Big
they
time.
figure it's like, oh well, we'll let a woman direct it because it won't make any difference. It's going to be a flop, so yeah, it won't make any difference.
Instead,
Boy, did
so
they get
far,
proven
it
wrong.
is the second highest grossing movie of 2017. There's only one movie that has grossed higher than Wonder Woman.
Yep. And we talked about it on Wednesday's show.
Yes, and if you listen to Wednesday's show like we told you to, Olaf, then you know the answer of what was the number one movie of the year so far.
Final Jeopardy question.
It was like it was the other movie. It was that other movie that was directed by a woman. That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know. Was it directed by a woman? I don't think so.
No.
No, I didn't think it was.
It was the Emoji Movie. That's what it was.
Nope. Didn't
Ding, 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 ding.
It's like wrong answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast. So now you know.
I knew that. I was just checking to see if you remembered it or not.
Yep. Tale as old as time.
Well, I still have Wednesday night's notes in front of me, so
Yes.
it was easy.
Yes. But it's like I am glad though to make sure that and to see that you know what the attitudes are changing. And honestly, like I said, I really hope that the other networks follow suit. And
Well, they are
do it.
They'll probably wait a little bit. They'll probably follow suit, but they're going to wait and see how NBC does with all these women, directing before they're going to stick their nose out and go, okay, they're doing good, so we'll give it a shot too.
Yeah. And all I'm going to say is, come on, Disney, if you could take a chance on basically on a successful movie series that you're going to continue, it's like give a lady a shot. Open up that mouse house.
That's right. Hey, guess what, Disney? Women like Star Wars too.
Yes, I am living proof of this.
My wife loved Star Wars. Yeah. Well, the original 3 Star Wars. The 3 prequels she really, really despised.
Well, that's a debate of a different night.
Yes.
All I say to that is you did a worldwide search and the best you could come up with was Hayden Christensen.
It's like, tune in next week when we discuss how bad it really was.
Yes.
But we don't have time for that tonight because our plates are full.
Indeed. Which brings us to our next interesting subject, and a very cool one at this. Steven Soderberg.
Oh.
Whoever thought that the man would pop up again after all of this time?
Okay. I did.
Excellent. Because you realize that he was on the last reunion tour on the last reunion.
Yes. He was doing his farewell tour and
to the farewell tour.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yes. And yes,
so,
it's
look what the man's done. I knew there was no way he was going to retire that young. He wouldn't be able to stay away.
And now, mind you, it's like one of his predictions were extremely. It wasn't wrong. It's just a little off course, I'm going to call it. But this latest one is an interesting one and warranting our topic of tonight. And there's been two headlines of it. The first one being Steven Soderbergh is back to destroy Hollywood. And this and the second one tonight, that is on IndieWire, which we will be talking about. Steven Soderbergh has a game-changing plan to give directors the creative control they deserve. Now he's using Lucky Logan, his new Logan Lucky, as the basis of this. He is doing a two-part system that we will be talking about tonight. Raising your budget by selling off foreign distribution rights, and sell everything except the movie showing up in a movie theater. Now, keep in mind that it says in order to pay for advertising and prints for the movie, this means selling off theatrical rights like HBO, Netflix, VOD, television, and airplanes. So everything but the theatrical. Okay, now there's two things that I will say about this. This is coming from the same person who said that all of the windows will be squished, that we're going to be having that he would love to see eventually everything come out on one medium at the same day when you're releasing a product. For obvious reasons, that doesn't work in the way that the industry works. And it's not a critique. It's an opinion. And again, the reason why it does not work, in my opinion, is the fact that it's like when people are given too many choices, they'll choose none.
That's there is truth to that. If you have too many things, they just can't decide which one. So, like you say, they don't pick anything.
Yes. If I knew that my favorite movie was coming out on DVD the same day that it's in the theaters, that's on television, on demand, in the digital thing, on Netflix, all in the same day, coming out there, I'd be like, okay, there's two reactions that I would have to this. Then I can wait, because if it's going to be on any of those mediums, I can wait to see it. Or my other reaction is too many choices, then I'd probably not see it at all. Because I don't know which one I'd want to see it on.
Right, because then you start looking at the options like, okay, it comes out, it's on TV, it's on the DVD, it's in the theaters. Well, I go to the theaters, it's going to cost me this much. I can buy the DVD for less than what it would cost me to go to the theaters, and I can watch it on TV for free. Well, it comes on a time I can't quite watch it, so I'll go get the DVD. And like I said, there's too many choices.
Yeah. So, and when a person is faced with too many choices, the option usually is to pick none.
Except Netflix, because I've already paid for Netflix, so if it's coming out on Netflix, I'll watch it on Netflix.
Yes,
but I won't watch it right away because I know me. I'll put it off.
Exactly.
And then suddenly it won't be on Netflix anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be going, where's this movie? It was supposed to be on here. It's gone. What's the matter with them?
Mm-hmm.
Don't they know I didn't watch it yet? Those bastards.
Exactly. So this is why it's like I'm glad that prediction did not come to fruition.
Yeah.
Because it would not have been very logical in terms of a lot of all the windows would have suffered for it. And it's not. It was not something that was a well thought out plan. Yes, the windows have closed in on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, for example, with films, it's like you don't have to wait 4 months after a movie's been in theater to get it to DVD. It's usually usually about 6 weeks later now, about that. Unless it's a completely extremely popular one, for example, like Wonder Woman, where it will take a little longer to come out on DVD because it hasn't finished its international markets yet.
On the other hand, you have Beauty and the Beast that came out on DVD almost as soon as it was out of the theaters because
yes,
all the blockbusters were coming out, and Disney was like, well, now we're going to compete. Instead of competing with the blockbusters in the movie theater, we're going to compete with the blockbusters in the DVD market.
Exactly.
And that was a very smart move on their part, I have to admit.
Yes.
Absolutely, it was, because it allowed then the audiences to see something that they hadn't seen in the theaters at that very time, as well as also get the benefits of being able to see Beauty and the Beast in a different format. And they did not have to then compete against the blockbusters. Absolutely,
Yeah.
brilliant strategy on Disney's part. Thank you, Mouse House, for doing that for us. And it's like, honestly, I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed watching Beauty and the Beast when I saw it. Now that being said, however, it's like when you're looking at that, like for example with Wonder Woman, it's going to be a little bit before it comes out on DVD because it still hasn't finished its runs in foreign markets yet. So once it finishes there, then we're looking at a great DVD release that will be a worldwide DVD to be shown. So it's like there are advantages and disadvantages to both.
Yes.
Right.
Now, now that being said, let's focus on the first part of the strategy: raise your budget through foreign distribution rights. Okay, let's take that first part of it. Raising a budget through foreign distribution rights. It can be, if you're Steven Soderberg, an easy journey. But as we've heard from a lot of our guests that have come to us over these last few weeks, right now the pre-sale market is getting very tight,
Yes.
and pre-sales are becoming harder to come by. So technically, it's like, yeah, if you're Steven Soderbergh, they may take a chance of a larger pre-sale with you, but an average filmmaker who is not a Soderbergh or Spielberg may not receive a pre-sale of that kind of magnitude. He raised $29 million as part of his budget for this, which is awesome. And I'm not taking anything away from him. I will say congratulations to him, as a matter of fact.
Yes,
Yeah.
job well done.
But this is and what this is really what I was thinking when I read the article. I was thinking, wow, this is a really great model for raising money to make your movie. If you're Steven Soderbergh.
Yes. It doesn't take into account if you are not Steven Soderbergh,
Yeah.
part of the modeling.
He's trying to say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Well, no, we can't, Steven. Nothing personal. It's a brilliant idea, but it's not going to work for the small filmmaker.
Well, and where the model fails is the fact that it's like, if pre-sales are completely difficult are getting more difficult to be able to go, then how do you entice a distributor to go earlier on a budget that isn't? And it also depends again on the names behind it.
Yeah,
Like, of how fast your pre-sales will be.
exactly.
And that doesn't necessarily mean like the names, like who the director is, things like it also means who your actors are. It's like, what's the storyline, because also certain storylines have better territory sales than others, and we've talked about that as well. It's like some things don't translate internationally budgetary wise, so that may be a harder struggle for a lot of people.
And just so everybody is clear on this, the movie he's doing this with is called Logan Lucky.
Yes.
The movie stars Channing Tatum, Daniel Craig, uh, I know Hilary Swank is in it, Kate Hudson is in it. Okay, so it's got a really decent cast. But here's the thing. He has got the best selling point because what Logan Lucky is a hillbilly version of Ocean's 11.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically making Ocean's 11 again, but this time with a bunch of backwood country boys that are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're not stupid. They're just simple.
Yeah, they're simple. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah. And that would be the plotting for it. Now, understanding that also you are carrying a A-list cast that's going on there, or a very popular cast.
Yeah.
I will not say completely A-list because certain actors have fallen in and out of favors over the years. But that, for the sake of the argument, A-list cast. That's one thing that is also going for this movie. Another thing that is also going for this movie is the fact that it's like, again, you're talking about somebody who is a very popular person in there selling off this movie. So also looking at the foreign pre-sales with like the foreign territories with this, you would also be looking at any future. It's like then what you're doing is with foreign sales, which is a lot of what your budget is, like a lot of what your sales are. By selling off early, you may be selling off territories that you could have gotten way more for as well by selling off that early those kinds of territories. Because foreign, it tends to be a little bit larger than domestic in terms of your budget of sales percentage for those who have been following along with our guests. So he might have been shooting himself in the foot when he did that for a variety of reasons.
Yes. And certainly if you don't have an A-list cast and you're not Steve Soderberg, even if you can get pre-sales in foreign markets, you're going to get very little money, and then you're stuck with that deal.
Yes.
If your movie turns out to be a big success in the U.S., well, you know, you sold it for $200,000 to China, and that's it. That's all you're going to get for it, no matter how well it does there.
Well, yes and no, because you do still get part of the profit shares. However, that being said, it's like what could have been a successful movie that you would have gotten in pre-sale, a bigger chunk of the territory, you wind up with a smaller territorial chunk.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily translate out because, yes, you got your box office, and yes, you got your P&A, part of the budget, by going through his step number 2. There. So what his step number 2 plan is, which is a very interesting part of part 2, sell everything except for the movie showing of in a movie theater, such as and in order to pay for the advertising and prints for the movie. This means sell post-theatrical rights like HBO, Netflix, VOD, television, and airplane. Now, that being said, I understand because he's talking about the studio system, and the studio system does take over your production. Selling off everything except for your theatrical, first of all, most distributors, unless that is their specialty, they usually want it all. If you're selling your secondary and ancillary markets like that, like your HBOs, your Netflix, and all of that, it depends on also how well your film plays in each of the territories as well. Again, having your ancillary rights there, they may not pick it up unless they get to pick up the entire territory.
Right.
In all the windows.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And
Netflix,
once again, you're going to get good money for that if you're Steven Soderbergh. But, for most people, you're better off to kind of wait until the movie is successful. You'll get more money from the DVD.
True, and you may or may not. But another thing that is also the case, it's like places like Netflix, for example, they want entire rights. Or Amazon, they want complete theatrical rights as well. They want complete world rights.
Yes.
So if you're selling off those territories, you could be blocking out a market that you could have been making way more money in that particular territory by waiting. Now, that being said, typically most movies try to sell 20 to 30% in pre-sales, as we have heard from our guests as well.
Yeah.
It's like normally that's part of your capital stack is trying to sell 20 to 30% of your markets.
Yeah.
Now, holding back on other markets. Using his model by sell everything but the theatrical rights, you may be, like I said, it may work for Soderberg in terms of his markets, depending upon how successful this movie is. But then he's also, you know what they say, cut off your own nose to spite your face.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because, say, for example, this movie, Logan Lucky, becomes a huge hit in China. Like a blockbuster hit on a screening night. And you know what? Or people are clamoring as distributors to get that right. Do you think that only having theatrical rights left is going to entice them to put the same figures on it as it would if they had all the territories open and windows?
Yeah.
Probably not.
I'm going to go with the no on that also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what you've done is you cut off your own nose to spite your face, because yes, theatrical is there, but a lot of people, they do their recuperation if it doesn't hold up theatrically in the ancillary markets like HBO and all of that.
Right.
And in the sales of those ancillary markets and secondary markets, like non-theatrical. Because I'm sorry, you're trapped on a plane for 2 hours. You're going to watch a movie even if it's crap. Or a TV series. Chances are you're not just going to stare blankly at the screen ahead of you in your seat. And when they put the movie on, you know, most people are going to usually tune in on that. A few people will tune in on some television shows. A few people will tune in on some radio programs and stuff like that. And some people will be sleeping on the plane. But majority of people, it's like you have this screen that dives down and you're seeing a movie on there. Chances are you're going to dial into it. Even if you do wind up falling asleep during it.
Yeah, you may not see the whole movie, but you're going to watch part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And no matter how campy and cheesy the movie is, you're probably going to do it anyways, because it's better than, again, staring at the four walls. Or listening to the person who's chatter-kissing beside you of all about their journey in their life.
Yeah. Shh, I'm watching a movie.
Exactly. Gives us a chance to be a little bit in our alone world.
Yes.
And, you know, well, they're bringing the drink trays by and everything, since they starve you on a plane anyhow in today's day and age. God forbid they should even give you a set of pretzels.
Yeah. Unless you're flying first class.
Yeah. It's like I flew about 8 months ago, and I will tell you right now, $7 for a container of Pringles that were literally this big is not exactly, you know, a worthwhile thing. But you know what, they're entitled to skyway robbery. Where are you going to go? You can't jump out the plane to the nearest restaurant.
That's true.
So they hold you hostage on there with their food prices.
I know.
With their exorbitant food prices. Where $7 for a little container that maybe contained 20 chips. Less than a bag of Hostess potato chips.
Now, where I got lucky one time was I was on a plane. I was flying. It was when I was flying back from Austin from visiting my sister, and the plane I was on had an IPA called I think it's a Jamaican beer. It's called Fat Tire.
Mm-hmm.
Very good beer. It was $8 for a can of beer, but I said, well, yeah, but you know, it's really good beer. I want to have it. So I bought a can, paid for it, asked for another can, kept asking for cans because she wasn't charging me.
See, and you got super lucky on that.
I got real lucky.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
Let me guess. She was Armenian.
She could have been, yes.
But in getting back to this, it's like so. Basically, what happens is that okay, you're on the plane, you're gonna watch it anyways, so you might have missed out on a market there because a lot of airplanes, it's like they starve for content because they know that the passengers don't want to watch, the same movie on the way there as they do on the way back.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like they want content. It's like you don't want to be trapped in a plane with having very poor content, so they buy up a lot. So you might have missed that territory by selling off too early. And again, in the same way, I will explain this. Remember how with the tax credits we talked about it of discounting tax credits. If you are going to sell off your tax credits, it's usually to the tune of 60 cents on the dollar or 80 cents on the dollar, depending upon your person who gives you the tax credits.
Yeah.
Like the debt financing against your tax credits. Some people will give you a better deal than others on it for your payback of your debt finance. That being said, the same thing happens with your when you're talking about pre-sales. If you're selling off all of the windows but theatrical, they're giving you 80 cents on the dollar. Yes, you've made your budget for your movie. Absolutely, you have. But you could have been making much more if you would have waited on some of your territories for the back end. Maybe the better strategy would be sell off the territories to be able to make the budget for the film, and don't sell off everything. Do a debt finance against any further pre-sales.
That might work a little better.
Yeah, do a gap against your future sales.
Yeah.
To make up the difference.
Yeah.
Because there are gaps and super gaps markets. And a good interview to listen to this is both Michael Mendelsohn and Michael Gianfrido. If you listen to Michael Gianfrido's interview, he describes it very well in full detail, talking about this capital stack.
Yeah.
So, yes, if you are Steven Soderberg, you can take that risk. But again, it's like he might have cut off his own nose to spite his spit face because, again, when you have only one window left, it doesn't become as desirable as having a whole entire territory.
Yeah.
And having multiple windows.
Yeah, because it just limits the amount that you can make.
Yes.
And what and the thing that I find dangerous about this, okay, is that Steve Soderberg is trying to hawk this as this is the future for marketing, for making movies. This is the future for financing movies. So you don't have to go through the studios. You can do what I did. It'll pay for your movie. It'll pay for your advertising. This is a golden thing. Well, no, I'm sorry, Stephen. It works for you.
Yep. And to quote out the article as well, which is on IndieWire, by the way, for those who want to see it, most Hollywood studios will cover the marketing bill and take control of the advertising materials like trailers, posters, leaving the director completely excluded from selling his or her own movie. Now, that being said, we've also spoken with aggregators. Aggregators absolutely say that you have your own control over these items. But they don't put any monies into it.
Right.
You have to understand if you're doing it with a studio is controlling that because they put the most money into it. They've covered your budget and then some.
Right. And they're taking their cut right off the top before anybody else gets paid.
Yes.
And that was Soderbergh's problem with it.
Yep, and according to the New York Times, Soderbergh believes that most studios overspend on marketing since they believe that more awareness yields higher box office. Okay, that being said, we've just seen a victim of lack of marketing. in several movies that we've seen out there. There are studio pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, those of you who were listening to Wednesday's show, we found a number of examples of movies that were very good movies that did really poorly at the box office because nobody knew they were out there.
Yeah, nobody knew they existed. And the confusion of the advertising because of the need to save money of the marketing that they believe is more awareness yielding higher box office returns. Well, they made the people less aware, so therefore it's like, you know what, in terms of audience, yes, some people will seek out a unique experience in movies. A lot of people, they want to know what the movie's about, and they want to see a lot of exposure and coverage on it to go, dang, I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
It's like if you marketed the hell out of posters, billboards, all of that, it takes about 7 times for it to soak into a person's brain what a message is. So yeah, it's like no kidding that they would want to do that.
Right.
And then they go, and studios then collects 15% of the total ticket sales and covers its expenses, leaving the remaining profits to the film's owners. Well, okay, 15% after the sliding scale, yes. But at the same time, is 15% worth it to you on that and back of the back end points to be able to have your movie yield a large box office potentially?
I say it is.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, but also if you want to cut all of that part out, go to an aggregator.
That's like fine if you have managed to put aside the money in your budget to do your own P&A.
Yes, well, and that's another part that, again, is not covered in this article in regards to it. Most independent filmmakers are going to have a P&A budget.
Yeah.
Do some of their own prints and advertising, even if you're working with a distributor, because they want to see what your marketing plan is as well and want it to be a more collaborative effort.
And the prevailing logic on small budget films, and we're talking the films that are like, $3 million or less, is that it should be, your advertising budget should be 3 times your production budget.
Yes. So, in other words, basically, for a $5 million movie, you're looking at $50 million in advertising.
Yes. Or you're looking at making the movie for $1 1/3 million or $1 2/3 million and spending $3 1/3 million on your P&A.
Average movies spent on P&A is usually about $10 million. We did a calculation when I was back in the day of learning about the business of film. We broke it down. Newspaper ads alone can run you thousands upon thousands of dollars. TV spots at $100,000 minimum sometimes for depending upon where you are situated. Sometimes a lot more. It's like, for example, if your movie is being advertised during the Super Bowl, you could be spending millions on advertising just to get a 30-second slot for your movie.
Right.
Yeah. The Super Bowl charges $1 to $2 million for 30 seconds, depending on when in the Super Bowl your commercial is going to air.
Right. Yeah. So that's a lot. And that's just your window on television. Never mind on the radios, on all of the other mediums. If you want websites that do that, your social media platforms. It's like, so you got to look at it as a healthy $10 million budget that you would probably be needing on top of your actual budget for prints and advertising. Now, having a distributor, they take a lot of that risk off of you. An aggregator, it's like says to you, yeah, you have creative control, but we're not putting money in it. You better have your own budget for it.
Yeah.
And from what I'm understanding, and again, aggregators, please correct me if I'm wrong on this. It's like, it's how, remember we were talking about this. And sometimes, you know what, you do want the creative control of how you're marketing this.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that he talks about is he ended up securing theatrical release by teaming up with an indie upstart, Bleecker Street, although their deal was built entirely on keeping control of the film with the director. Bleecker received less than $1 million fee for allowing Soderberg to market the film under their banner. So again, it's like what he did is he used. It's like with Bleecker Street, they received less than $1 million. Now, again, if you are Steven Soderbergh, you're talking about a different kettle of fish. Even if you're Steven Spielberg, you'd be talking about a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah, exactly.
Average filmmaker is not going to have to be allowed only $1 million to be able to run under somebody else's banner.
Yeah.
Under his model here. And it says, when Soderbergh wanted to make his Liberans biopic Behind the Candelabra, he was forced to do so on HBO because no studio wanted to risk funding it. Well, it's like, you know what? It's like HBO did it. They took the risk. It wound up being really good. It worked. You know, when he wanted to shoot The Knick season 3 using anamorphic black and white lenses, Cinemax reportedly denied him the budget to do so. Well, okay, so what this is making it sound like, and again, I'm paraphrasing this, and I could be wrong, and again, Steven Soderbergh, you're welcome to come on the show and refute this. It sounds like a lot of bitterness against studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Although I would just like to point out in passing that I think the reason why a lot of the studios were passing on the Liberace project was because, you know, I saw the movie and I know he kind of made it look like Liberace was gay.
That's because Liberace was.
No.
Yes. But it's like, again, it was one of those things of also Liberace. It's like, yes, he is a known celebrity name. However, that being said, a lot of people that are of a younger generation don't even know who Liberace is.
This is true.
If you probably hit 35 and under, unless they've seen some classic footage, would not know who Liberace is, would not even have the remotest clue of what did Liberace play, what kind of music.
Oh, okay. I was going to say shortstop for the Orioles. Okay, I'm
Yes.
thinking of somebody else then.
Yes.
No, that wasn't him.
Yep. So that's where we get into this of his strategy may have some validity. And again, we are going to be watching out the strategy. That being said, this isn't a typical strategy. As the markets are shrinking in, as well as also what the people will pay for pre-sales and pay in general, people are tightening up their belts. So this will not work. It's like, in terms of that, unless you have a relationship with a distributor or studio for some reason, chances are that this model will not be a model that you can create.
No.
Recreate. So great for a potential, but I think that the moral that we can carry behind this, or at least in my opinion, again, moral that you can carry behind this, is that what he's talking about is having less of a dependence upon studio financing, more of an independence on your own resources. However, that being said, you make the movie for the money that you have. One thing. And
this has been told to us time and time and time and time again.
Yeah. If all your budget is you don't have the 29 million that you wanted in your budget, you only received 15, well, sorry, but you know what, you make it for 15.
Yeah.
And you get lean and mean with it. But at least the movie gets out there.
Right.
Again, it's the sell off a third of your territories, like sell off 30% of your movie, keep 70% in the back pocket, ready to go after it's released. Yeah, you get your budget. May not be your full budget, then use things like gaps, super gaps, debt finance to go against everything else. Deal with your capital stack the way that you're going to deal with it. That may be a more independent way of finance. And I'm not saying that, you know what, his method is wrong. I'm just saying that it's a method that would be for somebody that would be more of his stature.
I would say have a little bit more stature to him.
Yes.
I was going to say somebody that has been a proven success.
Yes.
This plan would work admirably for them.
Yes.
But when you're just starting out, it's not going to work for you.
No.
Don't do it. It's not going to work.
Yep. And then he says, like, if I made it 3 times as many movies as Stanley Kubrick, that must mean I'm 3 times as good. Well, okay. And that's a quote taken out of here. But again.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, he didn't even take that out of context.
No.
He just actually just came out and said that. And it's like.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but,
by the GQ article, yes.
Mm-hmm. Stanley Kubrick, okay, maybe you made 3 times more movies than Stanley Kubrick's, but every one of Stanley Kubrick's movies was 10 times better than yours. You're still not better than him. Yeah. I'm not saying that Stanley Kubrick's movies are any better than Soderberg's. I'm just saying, no. That's a wrong attitude to take.
Yes. And it's like you have in Logan Lucky, you have Channing Tatum, you have Adam Driver. It's like
Seth MacFarlane, that was the name I was trying to remember.
Yes. So I mean, there is a lot of things in this movie, and it's like he says he calls Logan Lucky an experiment. The problem that I think needs to be addressed is what happened when movies for grown-ups made by people who still were interested in the ideas of cinema. In other words, what happened to the kind of films that Steven Soderberg has spent the past 3 decades making? Okay, well, we have talked about this as well in also other articles. It's like basically it's one of those things of audience changes. We've talked about why movies have shifted.
Yeah.
If it's Hollywood's fault or if it's the actual audience's fault in regards to it. But again, it is what it is.
I still say there was, as far as that, it's not studios, it's not, everybody else. It's a little bit of both.
Yeah. It's the fault lying in everybody.
Right. No, it's like you don't get to point the finger straight at the studios, and you don't get to point the finger straight at the audience. In other words, it's a combination. It's like between the two.
Yeah.
It's like kind of messing up the works.
It's all to blame, because it's like, if you know what they say, if the audience demanded movies like they had of 10 years ago, the movies would be made. If the studios had faith in the movies that were done 10 years ago, they would remake them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they would remake them instead of make new ones like that.
Yeah. And and you hear people all the time saying, what's the matter with Hollywood? They make, these movies that are action, and they have no substance to them. Well, it's because you stopped going to the movies with substance.
Yeah.
Usually what I say to them is, it's because that's the kind of movies Olaf likes.
That's right.
Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, it's like, look, you want a movie that has substance in it. It comes out during Oscar times.
Yeah.
We had several movies of substance last year at the Oscars with Moonlight. We also had Manchester by the Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were several movies that had substance to them. So.
Yeah. Hidden Figures.
It's like also Fences.
Yeah.
Okay, so
a lot of movies with substance.
Mm-hmm.
But the only time you're going to see them is in from the end of August to about halfway through October, and then
Yes.
the last batch of them come out in that last week of the year. But usually they're only playing at one or two theaters in Hollywood and New York
Yes.
because that way they qualify to be nominated for an Oscar. And I've seen it where, movies that win the best picture sometimes haven't come out to regular movie theaters yet.
Hmm.
So,
And so there, it's like, therefore, yeah, we still do make movies eventually. It's like there are some movies that are of substance, but it's when they do come out. And look at it this way: we just had two movies that juxtaposed one another. A movie that technically shouldn't have been successful was successful, and a movie that should have been successful wasn't.
yeah.
And again, if you listen to our Wednesday show, you will be able to have all of that information and so much more.
Yes. If you missed Wednesday's show, it was kind of an unusual show for us, but it was also a very enlightening show.
Yes. And it says he makes work about the momentum of the momentum because he is so easily bored. He might be the least boring filmmaker alive.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot to attribute to a person.
Yeah. Yes, the impression I got reading that article, that was the article that was in GQ. And the
Yes.
impression I got from reading that article is that the person writing it basically worshipped Soderberg.
Yes. So, again, it's like what we will take away from this article is the fact that it's like, yes, that formula may or may not work. We do not know. It can and cannot work. But yet at the same time, if you're Steven Soderbergh, it probably can work. But for the rest of us who are not Steven Soderbergh, we must find different avenues. And you know what? Embrace the fact if a studio wants your film, especially as newer filmmakers, embrace it.
Yeah. Let them market it for you.
Yes. It's like if you, and again, this is the same argument we've had before with aggregators versus distributors versus independents versus studios. It's like take every window you can.
That's right. It's worth the money you're going to lose off the front end, but you're still going to get the back end. So,
Right.
And it's one of those don't worry necessarily about are you gonna are you it's like think about it this way: if you do pre-sales, yeah, you're selling lower than what you would have sold if you would have waited for post sales necessarily.
yeah.
But that's a gamble that you have to take because you may or may not. You may not sell at all, which is another possibility.
Yikes.
Yeah, maybe that 30% that you sold is about all that you're going to be selling.
Right. Yeah.
Now,
And then you've lost out on everything because you sold the wrong side of it too quick.
yep. And understand in the distribution game, it's just as risky as it is in the financial game. You can either come out on the upside or on the downside of it.
Yep.
But either way, you're going to come out on a side. Now, as promised, I do believe that we are owed something, Arpo, from you this week.
Oh no, I forgot to do it.
Just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, it's like you're in for a treat because it has
And
been
a
a
grand
while.
experiment.
Yes. It has unfortunately been a while since the last time that we had a chance to see a real discovery. So take it away, Arpo.
All right. Now, first of all, I forgot that when I'm sharing my screen, it doesn't share the sound. So I accidentally have a couple of scenes in here that have sound. So the first thing I need to do is I need to unplug myself.
Yes. He needs to disconnect himself.
You can do it. Unplug.
He can do it. He can do it. And he's also
like-
silenced himself.
Unplug. It's like let everything just kind of flow.
Yes. It's the whole let it go.
Just let it go. It will be okay.
Yep. You have yourself on mute, Arpo. You have to unmute you. There you go.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can still hear you now.
Then I think I am ready to go.
Excellent.
So I'll jack up the volume a bit, and hopefully the volume in the two scenes that I foolishly have dialogue in will be picked up by the camera microphone. And now that I have done this, is the microphone still picking me up?
It is.
Good. Like I said, this is a big experiment, folks. We've never done it this way. We're doing basically a live video
Screen share.
Yes, eventually we will learn how to do this the real people way.
Yes. But for right now, it's going to be me talking live over a video that I've made, and we'll see if I get the timing right. Here we go. Near the end of the 1950s, Hollywood was trying to find new and more interesting monsters to bring people into the theaters and away from those blasted electronic boxes in their living rooms. Dinosaurs were passé. Aliens bent on world domination were passé. Even mad scientists were passé. And yet, sci-fi was still one of the few things that movies could do better than television. Remember, a lot of television at the time was live, so special effects were flimsy or non-existent. A successful TV writer named Lawrence Goldman came up with the answer, based loosely on a story by Irving Bloch. A concept so different, so unique, so unusual that it has literally never been done again. The movie? It's the rarely seen but highly respected by fans of 50s sci-fi, Chronos. It's a legal scope picture. A new meteor has been discovered by the scientists at a secret observatory. Unseen by them, a small piece breaks off and falls to the Earth, where it lands in a nearby desert. A man in a pickup truck is attacked and possessed by what appears to be lightning. Wow, pretty scary, eh, boys and girls? He drives to the observatory, overpowers the guard at... Wait, they have armed guards at an observatory? Huh? Oh, anyway, he makes his way to the office of the chief scientist, Dr. Hubble Elliott. No, really, the name of the guy in charge of the telescope is Hubble. 33 years before it would be a bad pun. The lightning leaps into Dr. Elliott. Watch it leap. Woo! And he becomes possessed as the driver falls to the floor dead. Meanwhile, Dr. Leslie Gaskell, played by Jeff Morrow, notices that the meteor he has been tracking has shifted its trajectory and is going to crash into the Earth. He gets photographic evidence of this. And he suggests having the computer, a synchro unifying cynometric integrating equitensor, or SUSY. Oh, what a computer. Double check the findings. Oh, but there's a problem. Unfortunately, Dr. Elliot, under the control of the lightning, has sabotaged the computer. Oh, no. And so Gaskell is unable to prove his theory until the meteor is too close for comfort. The Army tries to destroy the meteor, but their missiles cause no damage. They just deflect it into landing in the ocean. Boom! Whoa, yeah! All right, crisis averted, right? I mean, look, it's gone, right? Well, not to Gaskell's satisfaction. He travels to Mexico to see if he can find the crash site in the Pacific. He has no luck, and he's about to give up when a brightly lit dome appears on the horizon. This causes just a wee bit of panic for the main characters of the film, but not as much as the next morning, when a giant, mysterious structure is standing on the beach. This is Kronos, and closer examination shows it to be a robot. It is awaiting a telepathic command from Dr. Elliot, where the nearest nuclear stockpile is. All right, please don't ask me why the head of an observatory would have files showing the location of every nuclear stockpile in the world. Well, maybe that's why the observatory was so secret. Just go with it, okay? It turns out Kronos is a robotic accumulator sent by an alien race that can create matter from energy. Having run out of energy, they have sent Kronos to steal all of ours. Kronos must be stopped. But how do you stop a robot that gets stronger every time you attack it? This movie is well paced, and despite my rather lengthy synopsis of the plot, the movie is a mere 78 minutes long. So even the traditional boring scenes hold that edge of suspense that keeps you in your seat until the good stuff like what we just saw. Add to that a top-notch performance by John Emery of Here Comes Mr. Jordan and Rocket Ship XM as Dr. Elliot, a man torn between his possession by Kronos and his desire to find a way to stop it. It's a compelling performance throughout, like in this scene, where he is able to temporarily break the power of Kronos.
There was a phone and Oh, Dr. Elliot, I'm sorry, I thought...
What were they telling at the hospital about me?
Why, nothing. Nothing.
There's no need to lie. I know very well what they told you. Hang on, honey. You were right, Dr. Elliot. Listen, I don't know how much time I have, Gaskell. You must listen. Gaskell, here on Earth, we have learned only one half the nuclear secret. We can transform matter into energy. Up there, they have the other half. They transmute energy into matter. They have learned how to create the basic elements of matter, electrically and atomically. You mean like the experiments Howard at Boston Tech has been conducting? But their planet has become depleted of energy. How can that be? What has happened to them may well happen here if we continue using our resources at the present rate. Now they're sending down accumulators to find and store up new sources of energy. Life's blood. So that's how the giant grows. How can we ever stop it? I don't know. Reverse the process somehow. Cronus only the first. If he succeeds, more will come. Drain the earth of energy, of every last bit of power.
As good as this movie is, and I do recommend it, I can only give it 4 psychotrons. Why not 5? Because halfway through the shooting, the studio cut the budget in half, resulting in the cheapening of the special effects, like when Kronos is walking. Oh my God, look at that. It's pathetic. I'm getting on my soapbox here. What kind of studio accounting whiz cuts the special effects budget of a special effects movie? What kind of insanity can account for that? Kronos had the potential to be one of the greatest and most original sci-fi films of the 50s. Instead, good, but not great. Let me give you an example. Now, in this scene, they are examining Kronos up close for the very first time. Let's watch.
Nice work. My glasses. My glasses.
Pretty impressive, right? Originally, they were supposed to go inside Kronos, but the budget got cut. And so away they flew. Well, next time on Real Discoveries, a more typical example of sci-fi from 1957. It's a chance for you to check out the other end of the spectrum. Oh, it has its good points. It really does. But in the end, it doesn't get much more pathetic than the giant claw. You'll find out why next time on Real Discoveries. And of course, as always, all of the movies I do in these reviews come from the Psychotronic Encyclopedia of Film by Michael Weldon. And the movies I do that aren't in here should be. So right now, I'll turn things back over to a woman who drains my energy each and every day, and not in a good way. Grayson.
Hello. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, which brings us to that interesting topic that you had made mention of the fact of like those movies that we have not ever seen. Those we had talked about those nice horror movies that you had that we allegedly have never seen, but a lot of us have actually seen them.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. It was a documentary I saw called The 50 Greatest Horror Movies You Have Never Seen. And I was a little disappointed because I had seen 30 of them. So, we have time to run through this list real quick.
Sure can.
Oh boy. And then each of you can tell me whether you've seen the movie, heard of the movie but not seen it, or never heard of the movie. Okay, coming in at number 50, Basket Case.
No.
No.
Okay, I have seen it. It's a story about a young man who had a deformed lump of flesh on his side that was cut off, but it still had face and an arm, and
Okay.
it's just weird. And he carries it around in a basket, hence the name. Coming in at number 49, When a Stranger Calls.
Yes.
Yes, I think I've seen that.
Yes, as have I. Coming in, of course, that's the classic babysitter one. For those of you who haven't seen it, where why haven't you checked the children?
Yeah, that's the one that when they used to go, it's 11 o'clock at night. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah, they're dead upstairs in their beds. Why?
Yeah.
Number 48, Silent Night, Deadly Night. And because there are so many similar sounding movies, this is the one about a young boy who sees his parents murdered by a criminal dressed as Santa Claus and develops this bizarre phobia of Santa. And then when he is forced to play Santa Claus in a department store, he goes off the deep end and starts killing people.
Oh, so I guess a friendly movie of Elf.
Yes.
Yeah, no, haven't seen that one.
Number 47, The Slumber Party Massacre. Written, produced, and directed by women, full of gratuitous nudity. Come on, Olaf, you must have seen that.
Not yet, but I'm probably going to have to look it up now.
Yes. But it's your typical bunch of high school seniors having a slumber party, and of course, the maniac who escaped from the asylum, known as the Driller Killer, shows up uninvited and doesn't even bring beer.
Damn it.
Number 46, Valentine. Not My Bloody Valentine, not My Funny Valentine, just Valentine.
And I have heard of this one.
No, it's a new one to me.
Well, I have seen this one as well. Very bizarre movie about a killer that wears a Cupid head over his face. Quite bizarre.
Yes.
Number 45. Now, this is one of the ones that I had never heard of before. Grace. This is about a woman who was 8 months pregnant and is in an accident, and her baby dies from the accident. She decides to carry it to term and gives birth to the dead baby. But after the midwife leaves the room and comes back, the baby is alive and sucking at mommy's breast. Of course, it's not sucking milk, it's sucking blood.
Vampire baby.
It's a movie that shows the lengths a mother will go to provide for her child.
Yeah, that's a no for me.
Number 44, this one actually is a classic. The Hunger, The vampire movie with Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie as a vampire couple. David Bowie dies, so Catherine Deneuve starts having an affair with Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I've seen that one.
And coming in at 43, Prophecy. Not The Prophecy, not the one with Christopher Walken as the fallen angel. This is about deformed bears attacking people.
Yeah, no.
No.
I hadn't seen it, but I had heard of it. And then at number 42, we weren't scared enough. We weren't scared enough of these people to begin with. We have The Dentist, with Corbin Burnson playing a dentist who finds out his wife is having an affair and spends the day taking it out on his patients.
Yeah, no.
No.
Once again, haven't seen it. Don't really want to see it, but I had heard of it. Okay, number 41. Okay, you must have seen this one. Food of the Gods. Marjoe Gortner. After he decided that he wasn't very good as an evangelistic preacher, decided he'd become an actor. This was his first movie. Giant rats. Giant chickens.
Yeah, no.
No. Oh, no.
Heard of, not seen.
Yeah, neither.
All right. But now this is a movie. This is a true classic. And if you haven't seen this one, then you're either lying or you're really culturally deprived. Motel Hell.
Yes. I have seen this.
I think I've stayed at a few of those, so yes.
The
It's like the best beef jerky around. Yep.
yeah. No preservatives.
Nope.
Number 39. Now this one is kind of a non-atomic version of The Hills Have Eyes. It's called Wrong Turn. It's about a family on vacation. They get lost in the backwoods and attacked by a clan of inbred hillbilly cannibals.
Yeah, no.
No.
All right, yeah, I've seen this movie, and you're not missing a thing. Number 38, another classic, The Fury. Let's make people's heads explode.
Yeah, no.
No.
My goodness. Number 37. I loved this movie because it had a great twist in it. This is another slasher flick. Bunch of high school students getting together for a party, getting killed off one by one, but it had a great twist to it. The movie is April Fool's Day.
I think I've seen that.
No.
I can't tell you the twist without giving away the end of the movie, and I hate to do spoilers like that. So people who don't like spoilers, cover your ears and hum for about 10 seconds. The twist is it's all an elaborate April Fool's joke. Nobody's actually getting killed.
Okay.
So it's kind of a fun movie in that respect.
Yes.
Number 36, a Roger Corman produced classic, Humanoids from the Deep.
Yes.
Wow.
In which a bunch of fish people come to shore not to attack and kill, but to have sex with women.
Come forth and multiply.
That's right. Now we get into some really obscure ones. Hatchet at number 35. I have seen this movie. In fact, I have seen all three Hatchet movies. They star yeah, I think his name is Kane Hodder, who is the only actor to have played Jason more than once.
Big guy.
Big guy.
I've
And
met
you give
that.
him a hatchet, and wee-ha, the fun begins.
Hmm.
At number 34, we have May, the story of a lonely high school girl who has a fondness for dolls. But when her favorite doll gets broken and boys start to notice that she's attractive and trying to hit on her, she starts killing the boys and taking bits and pieces of their bodies so that she can make herself the perfect boyfriend. It's sort of like Frankenstein in high school.
Okay.
No.
It's a fun movie. I do recommend it. Number 33, a movie that probably nobody would know if it weren't for Elvira, the Mistress of the Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Lamora. This movie is also known as The Lady Dracula. It's about
No.
a vampire woman who abducts a gangster's daughter so she can get the gangster to do what she wants.
Okay.
I
I'm
have
sure there
seen
are.
I have
I'm sure
seen bits and pieces of this movie. I have not seen the whole thing.
Yes, I can honestly say that there must be better ways.
Yes. Number 32. This is my all-time favorite Hammer horror film, The Brides of Dracula.
Yes, I have seen that.
Yes.
The only Dracula movie not to have Dracula in it, but it does have Van Helsing, and oh my God, we finally learned the cure for a vampire bite. Wow.
Yep.
What more could you possibly want?
A better movie.
I like that movie. You watch your mouth, young lady. Coming in at number 31, The Exorcist 3.
Yep.
After the
Yes.
debacle of The Exorcist 2, The Exorcist 3 was like a fresh breath of air.
Yeah, I can't say I have.
At number 30, we have Burnt Offerings. Kind of a different take on a haunted house story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yes. Where the house is actually taking people's energies to repair itself. Ooh. Number 29, and this one, if I'm not greatly mistaken, is based upon a Dean Koontz novel, The Funhouse. About a little carnival that has a funhouse that isn't very much fun, especially when the deformed creature that's lurking inside it decides it's time to start killing people.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Number 28, Halloween 3, The Season of the Witch.
Yeah, no.
A lot of people were disappointed in this movie because there's no Michael Myers in it. It's about some guy that made masks, and the masks would make the kids, like, their brains would turn into insects and snakes and stuff. Had a great villain in it, but I personally was kind of disappointed in it. But I was not disappointed in number 27, Hard Candy. Before she was a pregnant teen, Elaine Page was a 14-year-old girl who hooked up with Patrick Wilson on a chat site, went to visit him at a coffee shop, went back to his house. You think you know where this movie is going, but instead she turns the tables, and it's he who is being tortured and abused. It's quite a good movie.
Yes.
No.
That's one to find and see, Olaf, because oh man,
it is.
It's really, really good. Number 26, Castle Freak. about a couple that inherits a castle, not realizing they've also inherited the deformed creature that lives in its basement.
Yep.
One of them.
I don't know if I've seen that one or not.
One of them. It's not really a gothic. It's a modern day gothic. Number 25. Another one that I have not seen. Feast. About aliens who come to Earth for dinner.
No.
And
But I did welcome them as my guests.
they're not vegetarians.
Damn it. Darn it to heck.
They are some really freaky looking aliens too. Let me tell you, I have not seen this, but they showed some scenes of it from the special, and I was like, wow, how did I miss this? Because those aliens are tray cool. Number 24, Slither.
No.
A bunch of slugs in a meteorite land on Earth and decide, let's take over the town and start eating everybody. Good. Nothing more fun than alien slugs.
Mm.
Okay.
If you say so.
Number 23, another movie I have not seen, Inside. I had a little bit of trouble quite grasping the concept of this movie, but apparently a woman is alone in a house and another woman comes to the door asking to use the phone, and once she's inside the house, she turns out to be completely psychotic.
Yeah.
Eek, 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 run and hide. Number 22.
Yeah.
I'm taking from Olaf's stunned silence that he's not seen that one.
No, sorry.
Probably not seen this one either. I know I haven't. Tourist Trap. We've all seen them by the side of the road. You buy a little gas, you get a burger at the diner, buy some snacks for the road. Then they say, hey, you want to see our attraction we have out back?
Yeah,
Well,
no.
in this case, you don't want to see the attraction they have out back, unless you don't mind being dinner.
Yeah,
Number 21.
No.
Number 21, another classic that I don't understand why they would put on a list of movies that you've never seen, Trilogy of Terror.
Wow.
They even say in
I
the
think I've
movie,
actually watched that.
they even said in the special, everybody, when you mention this movie, everybody remembers that Karen Black was in it, but they forget about the first two stories because the one they remember is the Zuni fetish doll chasing her around the house with this little spear. Coming in at number 20, Splinter. And if you've not seen this one, you can watch it. It's on Netflix, full free. It's about some weird alien infestation that it looks like a mold, but if you get it on any part of your body, it goes inside and then starts growing out of your body in these sharp, spiny splinters. It's
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, no.
not for the weak of stomach. Number
Yep.
19, Session 9. Group of workers removing asbestos from an insane asylum so it can be opened up again. One of them finds a box marked evidence that has 9 tapes in it. And as he listens to them, the power in the asylum grows.
Okay.
No.
Yep.
Number 18, a very fun twist on the werewolf movie, Ginger Snaps. No,
Yes.
not the cookie.
Yes, and I actually worked with the person who did that movie.
No.
My goodness.
Yes.
Olaf, I thought you liked horror movies.
I do. These are just some of these I haven't
Yes.
not heard of.
Well, it just goes to show you that, when Ginger goes through puberty after being bitten by a werewolf, something goes wrong in her head and
Hmm.
She
Ginger
snaps.
snaps.
Yes.
Yes. Number 17, one of those evil child movies, Alice, Sweet Alice. This was
Yes.
Brooke Shields' first movie after she made Pretty Baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yes, it's once again, it's kind of a classic. Not so classic as number 16, Visiting Hours, about a television news reporter who interviews a guy who attacks her. She ends up in the hospital, and he starts stalking her to the point of actually injuring himself, so he has to be admitted into the hospital too.
Wow.
Very weird man. Number 15. Once again, this is a classic. All of you who have been to film school have seen this movie. Even those of you who haven't been to film school have probably seen this movie. Roman Polanski's Repulsion.
Yep.
You know.
What is your problem? Oh, I just don't know. Now, this
I
is a
I,
more
I
recent.
I lead a very sheltered horror life.
So, my goodness. You got a lot of catching up to do, mister.
Hmm.
Now, this is a more recent film that I had never heard of, but it's kind of a fun concept. It's called Alone with Her. And what it is, this guy develops a fascination with the woman who lives across the street from him. So while she's
Uh-huh.
out one day, he goes into her house, sets up a whole bunch of cameras, and then watches what she does. And then he starts just having all these accidental meetings with her at the coffee shop or waiting for a bus, and starts talking to her, and she's like, oh my god, he's into all the same things that into. I may have found the perfect man. uh Honey, no, you
No,
haven't.
that's because he's stalking you.
Yes.
And none of us have ever had that experience.
No.
No, 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 no. Coming in at number 13, before she made the Kill or the Hurt Locker, Catherine Bigelow made this really cool Western, modern day country Western vampire movie called
Okay.
Near Dark, with Lance Henriksen as the head of a clan of vampires who go about the the land of Texas, deep in the heart of Texas. And he and his vampire friends just have a good time, especially Bill Paxton. You don't want to meet
Hmm.
his character in a dark alley. Whew.
I don't think I've actually seen that one. Sounds familiar. Was the Paxton? I think I've actually seen that one.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Number 12. Now we're getting into three in a row that I haven't seen, but the next two I haven't even heard of. Coming in at number 12 is Joshua. This is another one of those evil child movies, or is it? A young boy is just the perfect model child until mommy has a new baby. Suddenly, people are starting to die.
Okay.
I wonder why. So does Daddy Sam Rockwell. Some people say
Okay.
this is one of Rockwell's best performances, by the way, although I don't see how he could possibly top Chuck Barris.
Yeah, you have to give it a no.
Yeah. And another one that I have not heard of, but I do want to see this movie. At number 11, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. It's about an insane asylum where everything is run electronically. All the security is done electronically. So, of course, when a big storm hits and the electricity goes out, guess what happens?
All the loonies come out.
All the loonies escape from the asylum and they all have to be caught. Now, the head of the asylum is Donald Pleasance. And that's okay, except that he's just about as loony as some of the patients. And they do have trouble recovering a couple of the patients. In particular, Jack Palance as a very bipolar person, and Martin Landau as the preacher.
I've actually seen that one.
Yeah. Martin Landau has a scary laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in at number 10, a Japanese film. I think it's Japanese. It might be Korean. But it's Audition. A widower's son convinces him it's time to start dating again, and his best friend says, well, you're a movie director. Pretend like you're auditioning for a movie and, have girls come in and find one that you like. Well, it turns out he likes the wrong one. And I won't go much further than that, except you would be truly disgusted at what can be done with piano wire.
Yeah, no, that's not one I've seen.
Nope. Number 9, a classic movie from Sweden, vampire film, Let the Right One In.
Yes.
Absolutely outstanding. Yeah. Very shy, picked upon 12-year-old boy. His new next door neighbor is a father and daughter, or so they think. Turns out the 12-year-old girl is a vampire who's actually hundreds of years old. And he befriends her. And it's kind of like a vampire version of My Bodyguard, because she teaches him how to stand up for himself.
Yes.
It's just a really, really good movie. And if you've seen the American version of it, which was Let Me In, it's not as good. It's almost as good, but it's not as good. Number 8, from H.P. Lovecraft, we get The Reanimator, a man who develops a formula to reanimate corpses. Problem is, because their brains were dead, they really literally have death on the mind, and all they want to do is kill people. Well, what can I say? Every experiment has its drawbacks.
Right.
It's minor failure.
That would be no.
Coming in at number 7, an evil genie movie, Wishmaster, brought to us by Wes Craven as producer. Genie is imprisoned in a red crystal that is then put inside a statue. Come to the present, the statue breaks, the crystal is found, the genie gets out. Uh-oh. Be careful what you wish for. It gets nasty.
No.
I know Grayson's seen it. She told me.
Yes.
Number 6, The Descent. This is a very good movie. This is a ladies' weekend, but the ladies all have the same hobby, which is spelunking. Going to explore a cave, and they think they're exploring a cave that they have a map for, but the woman in charge of the outing actually has taken them to a different cave that has never been explored. So when they get trapped inside the cave by a landslide, they don't know how to get out, which is bad because they're not alone. Very good
Yes.
movie, but not for the claustrophobic. Coming in at number 5, Alone in the Dark.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was living literally like terrifying.
Little gremlins attacking poor Karen Black again. My God. Couldn't she make a TV movie without being attacked by tiny creatures?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Coming in at number 4, the Robert Montgomery classic, Night of the Hunter. About a convict who finds out that there's some money buried on some property, but the guy who buried it died and only his children know where it is. This does not
Okay.
bode well for the children. This is an old film. This is from I want to say the early 50s, but it's very intense.
Yeah. No.
Coming in at number 3, The Beast Within. A boy who turns 17 begins to undergo changes because I don't know. I guess his mother had sex with a cicada or something, and now
Okay.
his skin is coming off. His outer layer is coming off, and the inner layer is coming out.
Wow.
Yeah, that gets weird.
It's V.
All right, we're down to the top 2. In number 2's place, Pumpkinhead. We've all seen this one.
Yep.
No.
Few
No?
times.
Lance Henriksen's child gets killed by some kids on little dirt bikes, and he decides to take them out by having a witch summon up the evil Pumpkinhead. What he didn't understand when he asked her to do that was that every time Pumpkinhead kills a victim, the person who summoned Pumpkinhead feels the pain.
Ah.
Now he has to try and find a way to stop Pumpkinhead before the pain gets bad enough to kill him.
Ah.
It's a very good movie, and what a great monster. And that brings us to the number 1 horror movie you've never seen. This is the movie that defined the slasher genre. Every single cliche from the slasher genres happened in this movie. This was the first one before they were cliches. A lot of people thought that Halloween was the movie that created the slasher genre. But 4 years before Halloween, there was Black Christmas.
Yeah.
A bunch of sorority girls getting ready to go home for Christmas break start getting killed off one by somebody who has snuck into their sorority house. Of course, at first, none of them were missed because everybody figures, oh, they went home for the holidays. It's not until we get down to just a couple left that they begin to realize, hey, there's something weird going on here. I never actually see anyone
Yeah.
leave. They're just gone. And of course, it is the first time for the classic, get out! The phone calls are coming from inside the house.
Yep.
Yes, before it was a cliche.
Yeah.
Great, great movie.
Nice.
And the only other movie I've seen Keir Dullea in The Star Child.
Oh
From
yeah.
2001: A Space Odyssey. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. One other movie that he's been in, 2010. I forgot about that one. Okay.
Oh, yes, very good stuff.
Yes. And everybody, really, you should check out Black Christmas because you're going to see where all those slasher cliches came from.
Yep. It's actually quite the fun movie.
It is. There are some very clever killings in it, and you get to see a young Margot Kidder.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, definitely an interesting list and a good one to check out. So, that being said, as we're coming to the close on our Friday show, Arpo, how do they get you in social media?
Why, they get me on Facebook, of course, because I socialize on Facebook. They get me on LinkedIn for business. I am not much of a Twitterer, but I do occasionally tweet. But the best way of all to get a hold of me is, of course, get on Skype. Talk to me. I love to chat. But just make sure you let me know that you are a fan of Movietime because I get way, way, way too many marriage proposals from Armenian women. And it's got to stop.
Excellent. And Ola, how do they stalk you on social media?
Well, you can stalk me on both Facebook and Twitter. Like I always say, don't stalk too close because I do get nervous and I do have an itchy trigger finger.
Excellent. And you can get me on LinkedIn, Bizipedia, www.pastlivesproductionsinc.net, on Twitter at Sonata Grayson or Movietime Indie. Also, it's like, please look out for any future things. And again, we are also welcoming our audience to come and do that. Thank you to all of our fans who are out there and writing us in every day. It's like in regards to that, we love you and we will read your letters on the air as we receive them.
And please let me know. Do you like the real discoveries? Do you want me to keep doing them?
Yep. You are the fans. You're going to let us know. It's like, hopefully you loved our show and you learned a little bit of something, and we will see you again on Wednesday.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.